Chase, it's so nice to meet you. And Jack, thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody, I got an event later, so I didn't have anybody to keep the dog. I'm not going to put him in a kennel for 10 hours, so.
That's how I know I like you right away.
Go to work with Dad day.
I wanted to tell you, so drinking might not help, but go down Singin does. Because I was really surprised at how emotional that I listened to it this weekend. And I was like, I didn't expect to get this emotional, but I did. And it's a fantastic album, man. I really loved it. I think you surprised everybody by also releasing Fireside Sessions this year, right? So I wanted to ask, tell me more about why you wanted to do this sort of unfiltered acoustic album.
The last two records were written on guitars. It was just all guitar. There's no tracks, there's no click track, there's no nothing. It's as raw as kind of when I started 10 years ago or 12 years ago, I guess. But so I wanted to go back and show how these songs were written. Nothing fancy about it. Me sitting right here singing into a phone, and then I'd send it to Oscar, and we kind of build around that. And a big part of the process of the two records was me and a guitar. We found that if we go in full band right away, it just didn't feel right. So we'd always base it on me and a guitar, and the band would start joining in. And I don't know, I just wanted to show how that was done. And then I had the idea for, my dad was on the cover of Cowboys, I was on the cover of Singin. I thought it'd be cool to put them together and wrap the whole thing up. Both records, all acoustic, how they were written, and then put the picture of my dad and I together. I'd never seen a picture of my dad and I together as grown men, He died when I was younger, so that was a cool picture to see. So that picture kind of inspired the idea to put them both together. And then featuring the songwriters was something I wanted to do. I didn't know how many of them would be down to come in and do it, and all of them but 3 did. And so yeah, it was just a cool way to wrap that phase of my last 2 years of my career and my life. And now we're moving on to something else. So it's wrapped up, we're done, and that was the way we wanted to end it.
Well, what was some of the camaraderie like with those other songwriters on that album?
It was great because we wrote both albums, both albums were written on retreats. Not many of the songs were written in Nashville. We were in Montana, Alabama, up near Boston. So yeah, it was just, that was easy. That was the easiest part because it's just hanging out with your buddies at that point.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time with them writing these records. So when they came in, that was simple.
Well, you said these past 2 albums sort of reflect a new stage in your life, in your career. So how do you feel like this album sort of symbolizes that?
Well, talking about both records, it started with my dad, and I never really talked about that, losing him at a younger age, but that was a big inspiration for me on, not shying away from writing that type of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And then leading up to the very last song of the Singin record was Lori McKenna's idea. She was going to sleep and she had the idea for You in 85. It's kind of what that would look like with, me being in 85 with my dad, or him being here now, 2 grown men just sitting there having a couple beers together. I never got to do that. So that was kind of the theme of both records and piecing it together. And it was just easy to write because we never overthought it. We weren't writing 50 songs for one album. Let's cut 25 and put 11 out. It was just, this song's written, cool, we're putting it on.
So did you feel like that was sort of a natural progression, or was there an aha moment for you that sort of made you want to make that change?
There was definitely a moment, and it never was a moment of I need to change what I'm doing. It was more of a moment of I kind of hit a wall in 2020, and I sat down on my couch at home and wrote my first song by myself in 10 years, which ended up being If I Were Rock and Roll. And then I wrote another one called Life Part of Living by myself. I wrote Bench Seat by myself, and it was just all right.
Jack wasn't there?
Jack wasn't alive. No, he didn't exist. But when I wrote Bench Seat, I had a video in mind with 3 different dogs in it. We ended up doing the video, and I was like, man, if I'm gonna have a dog in this thing, I want my own dog. I never had a dog before, so.
Really, Jack's your first dog?
First dog in my life.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he's my buddy though. He goes everywhere with me. But yeah, man, it was just it wasn't a moment of I need to change what I'm doing. It was a moment of this is what I'm doing. I got to figure out how to show this in the best way and how I've been doing it. It was more pop. Everything I was doing more pop leaning, which is crazy because if you know me, I'm not that at all. But I didn't know how to do what I really wanted to do till I found Oscar Charles, who was the producer of my last 2 records, the Fireside Sessions. And when him and I started talking about how to record these songs, a lot of it was acoustic guitar driven. So we're going to do that on my next record too. We're going to record everything. It's not time to party. You hang out. We're going to do everything with me and a guitar first, and then we're going to add, band in as we need it. And maybe some of them are just me and a guitar on that next record too. So yeah, having Oscar come in really changed the way the sound was, and it got it to where what I wanted to do the last 10 years, I just didn't know how to do it.
So when you think back to that time frame, what do you feel like is the biggest difference between you before I Hate Cowboys compared to like you now?
I didn't know who I was at all as a human, much less as an artist. I was chasing whatever's popular. I'll be the first to admit that. Yeah, I wanted hits. But then I'm sitting there thinking about, I'm doing live shows, you're thinking about how do I entertain this crowd? How do I get them as hype as possible? How do we make it a party? As opposed to this most simple question I should have been asking myself was, how do I make great songs? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't asking that question to myself. Writing these songs all on guitar changes that. It's like you're not thinking about, also having all the time off in 2020, like you're living regular life. You're not sitting there looking at crowds. Mm-hmm. So instead of thinking about that, I was thinking about how do I make great songs. It was that simple.
So how do you feel like the songwriting process for you has changed the most?
Well, there's no tracks, first of all.
Yeah.
You get the tracks in there and you start thinking about different melodies, what sounds cool, what sounds like a hit. And to me, there's a lot of hits out there that are trash songs, including some of mine. Mm-hmm. But, I was having fun. I was trying to figure it out. I just couldn't until I took the time away and then simplified it, which was just, for me, the formula was put a guitar in your hand and just start writing.
Yeah.
And write about real experiences. Bench seat was a real experience for my best buddy, almost killed himself. Write that. And yeah, that just simplified the whole thing in my head. And that leading forward, makes it even easier because you're sitting there writing songs, you're not overthinking. Yeah. We haven't thought one time in 4 years about how do we, maybe Bad Day to Be a Cold Beer, but how do we write a hit? I'm not thinking about that anymore. I just want to write great songs.
Well, I want to talk about you in '85 because I really resonate with you because like I lost my dad when I was 18. So I understand what that's like. Can you share the story behind that song?
Well, like I said, it was Lori's idea. She had the concept and brought it to me the next morning. And I just started humming out the chorus right away. It was just Still Cut Rose on it. That's what we did. The first job I ever had was bush hogging in the fields of Florida, up into North Carolina on his Kubota tractor. So it was just like Still Cut Rose on a tractor, drink beer after work. Like that's what he did. Yeah. He would get home from work, get a beer, get on the tractor, bush hog, whatever he had to get done around the house or around the farm. So yeah, just not overthinking it. Like, what would that look like if what did I do? How did I live my life? And that was it. That was just the truth of how I grew up. Right.
Well, how has that loss influenced your songwriting and has it helped you process that grief? I mean, from all these years later?
For sure. I mean, he got me my first Martin guitar because I told him, he made me sit down on the couch, or he was on the couch with my mom. I sat on the fireplace and he said, you got to play 5 songs for me and your mom if you want this guitar. So I did. I'm sitting there looking at tabs.
What songs did you pick? Do you
played
remember?
a McGraw song called Who Are They? I played Sweet Caroline, or not Sweet Caroline, Country Roads.
That's classic. That's a good one.
I played a Paisley song, not doing the Paisley parts, but just chords. And I was looking at lyrics and looking at tabs and stuff like that while I was playing because I wasn't good enough to memorize, I guess. At that time, I just learned to play guitar. So
I mean, look, I play guitar and I still look at tabs every time. So yeah. I'm not judging.
Yeah, nowadays lyrics are the tough one, but moving forward, it's a whole different ballgame because we just wrote a whole album in Colorado called Eldora, written right there near Eldora, Colorado, and Wyatt McCubbin's out there with me, and he's playing all these crazy parts. He's a great guitar player. So now I'm learning those parts, and it's just going to be me and a guitar to start this next album. So I'm going to be playing on everything. We're not going to have Rob McNally come in and try to make a cool guitar part. That's not how it was written, so we want it to be real as possible. So I'm going to have to learn all these new songs, and I'm already in the process of learning them to the point where you can do one take and you're done. There's no tuning, there's no nothing. It's just me and a guitar, and then we'll see what happens after that.
So did that experience with your dad and playing those songs for him, has that sort of influenced your thought process now and how you're looking at handling these future albums?
Yeah, I wish I'd stuck to that 10
Yeah.
years ago, but that wasn't what was happening, and that wasn't the situation that I was kind of fell into. It was the tracks became a thing, and that was fun looking back. It's like I did have a good time doing that, but I wasn't putting out anything that really mattered for the most part. I had a song called Jack Daniels and Jesus, Carolina Can, that were real songs. But now, it's as simple as sitting there playing it like I played to my mom and dad that day, just me and a guitar, and that's definitely changed the way I'm writing songs.
Well, you mentioned it earlier about the cover for Fireside Sessions, and I love that cover. I think it's such a unique concept, and obviously you had your dad on the first one, and then you were on the second one, sort of mimicking that, and then the two of you were together. So where did that idea stem from, and what was it like seeing you as a grown man standing next to your dad at, I'm assuming, a very similar age?
Well, I never got to experience that.
Yeah. Because I don't have any pictures like that with my dad either.
Right,
I've never seen that. So I was thinking about that when I saw that cover, about what that would be like for me to see that with my dad. And so I think that's a really cool, thing that you kind of put together, that you were able to experience.
That's why one of my favorite lines of either record is in UN 85. It's if I could have one thing, it'd be us man to man, a couple Coors Banquets in hand. That's what the picture was. It was just that he was in Wyoming in the 80s, and just double fisting banquets like a G. He was that kind of guy, man. So to be able to do that would be awesome.
No Stone Cold smashing, just
who knows with him, man. I doubt it. He was a little more calm than kids these days. But that's a special line in that song, especially for me. And that kind of wraps both records around together perfectly, because it's the one wish I could have. Now I get to at least have a visual of what that would look like. Yeah.
Are you enjoying being more vulnerable now, or do you find this more daunting, this process?
Oh, I love it. It's easy. Now it's all of a sudden, like if I come in here and you're asking me, so Chase, tell us how you wrote Ready, Set, Roll.
Yeah.
Which was my first single. It's like, I would lie and I would say something that I'm supposed to say. I don't even know what I would talk about. Well,
how'd you write Cruise? Can I ask that?
Cruise happened fast, actually.
I'm just kidding.
No, that was quick. I mean, we were writing a slow song, and Brian Kelly.
Would you say you cruised through it? I'm just sorry.
We did cruise through it. It was 45 minutes, man. He literally started humming, "Baby, you like don't make me wanna roll my." Wrote it in 45 minutes, and then we finished the slow song.
Well, what I love about these last two albums you've put out is you're dropping some F-bombs, and country's not really known for that, and you got the explicit tag, and I think that's awesome. But what was why did you think that was important to leave in, and did you worry what that response might be, like people, since it's not a classic country, I guess?
I only worried before we wrote it because I had the chorus written, and I worried about Lori McKenna. I worried. I'd never written with her. The first idea that I'm ever handing her has the F-bomb in it. So I'm like, is she gonna wanna write this? I don't know. Party on, buddy. You look like you're hot or something. And so we write that, our first song, up in Boston, and she was all about it. She said, no, that's real. And that assured me, like, okay, we're doing the right thing here. But as soon as she was down to say it, I was definitely down to say it.
Any words you've cut out or anything?
No.
You're like, nah.
And then the Fireside Session has it like 7 times because that's just me talking. There are a couple I'm gonna actually have them taken out because one of them's is Arkansas. I say it before we start singing it. It's my nephew Walker's favorite song.
Yeah.
So, but he can't listen to the Fireside Session, so we're actually going to take that out and re-put it up on DSP so my nephew can listen to it.
You can actually cuss in this interview if you'd like. John won't like it because he'd have to bleep it out, but we can just drop them all day long if you want.
Well, all right.
Can do it.
Sorry, Evie. He said.
Now, what do you think is the most challenging part of songwriting now that you are getting a little bit, deeper into the vulnerabilities? Oh, it's fine.
Hang out.
Jack? Hey.
Calm down.
He's a good dog.
He's a good dog. Well, sorry, the most something songwriting?
Just what do you feel like is the most challenging aspect of songwriting if it's not, if you're finding it easier to dig into your vulnerabilities now?
You just don't want to screw it up. You always got that fear, but with the people that I'm writing with, and we got it pretty figured out right now. I had a song called Circa 1943 that's going on the Eldora record next year. Mm-hmm. Similar idea. I was like, man, I got this idea. I love the idea. You just have that little fear of, I don't want to mess this up. but sit down and it took us a while to talk through the whole concept of the song, which is a couple who meets in World War II. How do you wrap it around to the ending, which is the most important part of the song? But you sit down and you grind on it, and you're pretty confident when you're writing with guys like Wyatt and Oscar that you just get it. You get each other. You're at a retreat in Colorado. Nobody's got to go anywhere. We're gonna nail this thing down. It took us a bit, but yeah, it's more just like, all right, guys, we know this is good. How do we not mess this thing up? And you get more confident as you go. Once you start with these particular writers and you write enough songs together, it's like, all right, we know what we're doing. We're gonna lock this thing in.
Dude, this is such a pleasure getting to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time,
Easy, man.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.